Our question that we're going to deal with today is, should I paint my basement ceiling? More and more people are asking this when they finish their basements. And I have some mixed thoughts on this topic. But the benefits of painting your ceiling, you do get a more open feeling when you do that when you're finishing it. And you do obviously cut the cost of actually putting a ceiling in with all the drywall work that's required. And it can give you a more clean look. You don't have to worry about ceiling tiles sagging or any of those things, or ductwork causing condensation and staining the ceiling later on. And it does give you great access to plumbing, electrical, those sorts of things. But when we look at the downside, they're very real and we have to consider them. The minor things, the walls can look unfinished at the top when you install them, when the ceiling's painted, so you have to really watch out for your finishing work. And sometimes obnoxious ductwork and plumbing and electrical just doesn't get covered very well, so things kind of can stick out like a sore thumb. But here is my biggest concern about painting the basement ceiling. And it's based on a showing that I had one time where a house was completely burned out. It was a reverse bi-level. So in the reverse bi-level, you had your kitchen, living room, all of that down on the lower level, and you had the bedrooms all on the upper level. So it's a bi-level that feels like a two-story. This reverse bi-level, evidently the fire broke out at Christmas time. There was a Christmas tree and there were what remained of some Christmas gifts down in the lower level. So we looked in the back of this house. The windows had all been knocked out. One of the boards had slipped down at the back slider, so we could see what was really going on. And I looked up. Everything else is burned and charred. I didn't even understand why this house was being sold without the house being leveled. But what I noticed when we looked in, everything else was burned, siding completely melted. Just a horrific scene of this house fire. But the ceiling on the lower level was completely uncharred. Perfect wood all across there, and it's probably the only thing that kept the house from being a total loss, where the fire just consumed that flooring system inside and caused everything to collapse. It was an amazing sight because it didn't match reality in that moment. And so I thought about that for a long time after that. I thought, well, what would have saved that ceiling when everything else was just a complete charred mess? And my only thought was that whatever was covering that ceiling down below in that lower level probably had some asbestos in it that was heat resistant, and it's probably the only thing that saved the house. We don't like to have asbestos anywhere in the house, don't get me wrong, but you had something fire resistant that protected that flooring system in between the two levels and kept the house from being a total loss. So if you're painting your basement ceiling and there's nothing that's fire resistant, fire retardant, then the same effect is going to happen. There's nothing to protect you if you get a fire in your finished basement. There's nothing to protect your house. So if you're going to do this, if you're going to go ahead and just paint the basement ceiling, please keep in mind that unless you add some type of fire retardant to the paint and make it fire resistant or have something that's already blended that way, you could be putting yourself in jeopardy. You could be putting people in jeopardy in that house, and you could be compromising the entire flooring structure of the house by not making sure that you use some type of material that's fire resistant. So just keep this in mind when you have plans to finish the basement. Take extra precautions to make sure that you are not setting yourself up for a disaster, or your home or the people inside. If you have questions about this topic or any other real estate related topic, you can feel free to reach out to me via phone, text, email, private message. And if you're watching on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe. Thanks so much. Bye.